Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. It's Cynicalex, and we got the next sneak peek for the upcoming February update. However, as you will see from the sneak peek, it's not really a surprise. I mean, it is sort of a surprise because we didn't have the full amount of information about Cable, but there isn't actually that much of a surprise. So that's Cable sort of chilling in the dark there. That's Teen Cable. We get a full look at his character model, including the sword. I think it's called Galadon, and then he slashes. Now, this being the third or fourth sneak peek, it's called number 3 here in the title, but you know, it's been about 3 or 4. We start looking for the tier 3 icon, you know, or the tier 3, the sneakiness of the tier 3. Maybe it's in the slash. No, if you pause it around 2 seconds or around 4 seconds, you will see, actually it's a little bit before 4 seconds, about 3 seconds, you will see that there's a T drawn or sort of scratched into the stones, into the brick wall. Then there are 3 lines. So Cable is now getting his tier 3 confirmed. So we're gonna get Gambit, Awakening, and Cable tier 3. So this is a blast heavy update. However, there are still no new characters. So I'm actually starting to get a tiny bit worried. On the one hand, about 40, to be perfectly honest with you guys, about 40% of me would not mind if we didn't get any new characters, because I know that it helps players catch up, especially with all the expensive native tier 2 characters. It allows you to use all those extra bio selectors to go towards native tier 2 farming and sort of building up their levels and building up, you know, them to 60 or 70, or it lets you catch up with uniforms and stuff like that. I get that, I really do. But there's about 60% of me that kind of does want at least one new character to work on. One theory that I saw posted that we talked about on the live stream is, what if they're waiting for the mid-month to drop a character just like they did last month with Null? That would be a pretty decent idea, and it would be interesting to see how they're going to do it. Additionally, Null was released as a brand new character packaged as the mid-month tier 3. Rather than them releasing a mid-month tier 3, if you think about it, like Storm or these other characters where we already have them built up, you know, you could already have the character built up at gear 25 ready to go, and that's going to be the case for Cable as well. You could already have Cable built up, and we'll talk about why that's a little bit important later, but there's really not much of an expense to be had if you've already invested these resources. If they release a brand new character that's also tier 3able, like let's say the mid-month tier 3 is, I don't know, Omega Red, for example, native tier 2 Omega Red, or whatever, native tier 1 Omega Red that you can take to tier 2 and then you can take to tier 3. That's going to require the full investment from the beginning, and that's especially important for players who want to have it right away, you know? So it'll be interesting to see what their game plan is and how they're going to try to monetize new characters that come out. If we're going to start getting characters a lot more slowly, I'm jumping the gun here a little bit. We've only technically had we haven't even had a full update without a character because Null was released during the Herald Thor update. I recognize that. I've said it a couple times incorrectly. You guys corrected me in the comments, but the Herald Thor update itself didn't have any new characters. But the idea that they're going to sort of wait and then release a character, a brand new character like they did for Namor, that will be able to go from whatever 1-star all the way to tier 3, that puts a lot more of a crunch on your resources, right? So especially for spending players, and especially if they release your favorite character, you know, despite having almost 240 characters, if your favorite character is Mole Man or Vulcan or Onslaught, like there's still a lot of really cool Marvel characters that have never touched ground in this game. So if they release your favorite character and they can go from 1-star level 1 all the way up to tier 3, you're going to want to invest to build them up all the way. So it might be a decent way to monetize the game in a way that's not too aggressive, because it's one character at a time, but also the players who want have to buy in a major way to build up that character. So, you know, it still sort of makes those returns for the business side of the game. I don't know. It's an interesting idea, to be honest, and it's one that we're going to I want to monitor a little bit more closely, because it could actually be what they're trying to do. They've tried a lot of different things in the last year, Marvel Future Fight, releasing content all at once, releasing content in waves, getting piece by piece, you know, one week after another. It seems now that they're sort of settling on this sort of like half dump at the beginning, and then the rest of the info dump or the content dump in the second week. And we might actually get a staggered release for the actual content, right? Like, imagine, they might not do this, but they could potentially give us Timeline Battle when the update lands, and then a week or two later we get the Conquest rework. And then in the meantime, they have a week to shut down Conquest so that it doesn't update and change in the middle of a Conquest battle, right? In the middle of a week's worth of battles. So who knows? I'm not saying they're going to do that. I'm saying they could do that. So yeah, Cable's getting his tier 3. That's actually a really good thing for a lot of players who have invested heavily in Cable, whether or not you got the Summer Days uniform. He is a very expensive, he's a very expensive character being native tier 2. So having built up his gears, you can see I'm 25, 22, 22, 25. I'm pretty much there as far as getting him to tier 3 goes, so I can appreciate being able to cash in on this investment. I have a few other characters like this, for example, especially the super expensive ones. For example, Dr. Doom is ready to go. I could tier 3 him at a moment's notice because of his gears. I've pre-invested into his gears, and same thing here with Cable's brother, or twin, whatever, Strife. So, not twin, but clone. So, yeah. On the other hand, I mean, it's good for players who have invested, obviously, because they're gonna be able to get more out of the character, just like Gambit, right? We invested in Gambit, and he was good for a while, and then he dropped off. You paid money to get the X Gene sub, whatever. Now he's gonna renew his value. On the other hand, I can see why some people are kind of annoyed. Cable doesn't really need the tier 3, honestly. Cable is one of the strongest, if not the strongest, non-tier 3 character in the game, like that you can't tier 3 or take the tier 3 or is not native tier 3, like Null and Sentry. He's really strong, man. I'm gonna show you some content here with Cable if I can set up this team before I get booted, but he is very strong, and I don't even have his best uniform. That's the other thing. I don't even have his best uniform. So I'm gonna put him here with his dad and see how this goes. So to give you guys an idea, in case you skipped out on the Summer Days uniform for Cable and you didn't watch any content or you didn't see much talked about it, I can't show you guys the Summer Days uniform because I don't have it. But basically they made one change to Cable, which was adding accumulation based on damage dealt rather than damage received. Right now, my Cable, he has the third skill, which is accumulation based on the damage that he takes. You got to take damage to accumulate to boost your attack. But the new Summer Days Cable, and presumably also this Cable that we're going to be getting, is going to inherit those new features of the Summer Days Cable, which would be accumulation based on damage dealt. That new Cable, that Summer Days Cable, and presumably this Teen Cable, if you have 3 of them on your team, you can beat Galactus if you're well built. Before Pierce was a thing, this is way before Pierce. 3 Cables could beat Galactus in under 10 seconds, or in about 10 seconds, something like that. The amount of damage they do is nutty. Absolutely nutty. Now, I'm not playing very well right now. Keep in mind, I have a CTP of Rage on my Cable. I actually don't have a CTP of Energy. So it's going to be interesting to see how the showcases are going to work when he gets his tier 3. Because there's going to be a lot of people out there testing him to see how good he is with an Energy. I still think they're going to keep Cable's playstyle the same. So if you had to ask me, I don't think that they would change it too much, because they've kept it similar for 3 uniforms now. His damage is not that impressive here, but again, I have accumulation based on damage received. And so if Master Mold doesn't hit me, here my damage would go up. My attack spiked, but I have no one to hit, so it doesn't matter. But we just one-shotted that thing. I can't get out of this iframe. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how many of Cable's skills change, because yeah, we're gonna do more damage here because I got that accumulation. As you can see, with just a little bit of accumulation, he bursts. So 35 million damage in like a minute and change. He's so stacked already. He's so stacked. And he's going to get a tier 3 and get even stronger. So from that perspective, I can see it's always good when a character who hasn't been used a lot in the meta gets a tier 3. And Cable has had a lot of competition from blast types. Doctor Strange, Moonstone. Like, there's a lot of blast types. Sharon Rogers even got a new uniform in between. So there's a lot of blast types that have sort of passed him, even Professor X, right? And Star-Lord to an extent. But on the flip side, on the other hand, there were other characters that are also featured in these comics that sort of seem to be related to the update that probably needed it even more than Cable did, like Psylocke, and she was like way more featured in Excalibur, for example, and she's just as featured in X of Swords or 10 of Swords or whatever it's called, Cross of Swords. And then you have Rogue, the possibility of even Rogue tier 3. So it's now looking like we might be getting some awakenings, some non-uniform awakenings that we hate, like Heimdall and Sif. We're probably going to get them. I just never thought we would get them for mutants. So I don't mean to jinx Jubilee, but she's a possibility. Psylocke's a possibility. Honestly, Psylocke is pretty strong, so she might be good enough. She doesn't have accumulation. She might be good enough with just her awakening. If they give her accumulation on her awakening, she might be good for null. I don't know. We'll see how she does as far as this type of elemental damage goes, right? Because we tested it a little bit with Namor, and he didn't do so well with full fire. Psylocke is full mind, so you gotta keep that in mind, huh? But Jubilee's a possibility. Rogue's a possibility. Honestly, for Rogue, I really like this uniform. I mean, I would prefer something better, but I mean, she's really strong as is. She's probably better than Psylocke at that point. So if she got an awakening, she would definitely be way better than Heimdall and Sif were when they got theirs. It's a bit tricky with the X-Men because they got uniforms recently and their power level is still pretty decent compared to Elsa, compared to Silk and these other characters that got awakenings. But at the same time, you kind of do want them to get uniforms, right? At the end of the day, even though uniforms cost crystals and stuff like that, we want to see new looks for characters, right? I'm sure there's no one out there who would rather have, or there's very few people out there who would rather have fewer uniforms than more uniforms, right? At the end of the day, I'd rather have more uniforms, even if I can't get them all, right? Even if you hypothetically couldn't get them all, at least knowing that they're out there, that you could get them in the future, rather than seeing the update pass by, seeing your character get nothing for it, and then knowing it could be 6 months, it could be a year, it could be more than a year before you get another update that even could potentially give that character a uniform, right? Because if you, again, especially in the next few years, Marvel has so much content coming out, and whether or not we get Disney Plus content is still up in the air. It's still kind of a question mark, but there's no doubt we're going to be getting Disney content, like the MCU movie content, right? There's going to be 100% an update for Shang-Chi when that releases this year. Spider-Man 3, Eternals. So right there, we've already had one update this year. This is the second update, and I've just confirmed 3 more updates. That's 5 out of the 10 total updates for the year, because there's only 10 updates in a year for Marvel Future Fight, which means half of the updates are already taken up by existing content that we know is coming, unless movies get delayed. Obviously, I don't want any movies to get delayed, but that sort of goes without saying. So it might not, it might be more than a year before Jubilee and Rogue get their chance again. So we'll have to see what happens as far as the live stream goes. The live stream is tonight, for those of you guys that are wondering, the pre-recorded live stream with Cage and Kim. I'll be watching it at the same time simultaneously on Twitch, so you can hit us up at twitch.tv/Cynicalex to check that out. We'll hopefully see more than just Gambit and Cable, but I think that's where some of the hype has been lost. And so I do put that out there as a request maybe to the sneak peek team. I don't know how they've designed the update. Maybe Marvel gave them the mandate that they couldn't show off the other characters too soon, but the first update was Deadpool, okay. The second update, the second sneak peek rather, was Gambit, and then the third, the live stream announcement was Gambit and Cable, and then the next sneak peek was Cable again. So really, when you think about it, we've gotten 5 separate posts, but we've only actually seen 3 different characters, 3 different uniforms for three different characters. So I feel like the team kind of dropped the ball on that one. It's a shame because I think the sneak peeks have been really good, but at the same time, I do think some of the hype has been lost because of the repetitiveness, right? We got Gambit, then we got Gambit again, then we got Cable and Cable again. So it's like, is this just the Gambit Cable update with a little splash of Deadpool? Who knows, right? Is Domino going to get something? Are we going to get some more relationship with Deadpool, or is it just going to be the Cable Deadpool show as usual? We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, hit me up in the comments down below. Let me know what you think. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you tonight on the live stream. Take care.